All right, we've got Angry joining us. Hey, Angry, can you say something?
Hello.
Perfect. How you doing, man? And the parser, thank you for the 100 biddies. All right, let's Angry. Did you have time to draw up some graphs? I know that I kind of ambushed you with um we're streaming on Friday instead of Saturday, and I even forgot it was Friday. So are you
I'm
satisfied with the graph
furiously
quality?
I'm furiously copy and pasting into your chat.
In my that's right. Oh my god. Oh my god. That's a lot of graphs. Angry. Okay. All right. I can see. I'm gonna. You guys are gonna have to talk, and I'm gonna have to open them all up in my browser. Anyway, do you have you have time to join a stream, Angry, in all your move ops? Apparently,
Oh man, I move like probably like 50 million M3.
I'm going to talk about that later in the Oz report. But jump freighter prices are very high in JITA,
Yes,
surprisingly.
they are. It's a combination of us buying them and people scalping them.
Yeah, yeah. Who's quicker? You to move or other people to prevent you from buying them to move, I guess. Yeah. Cool. All right. Anything else, you two? So Luke, I know for everyone else, Luke is running for CSM again. Luke, or maybe actually we should do this, Luke, since you've been on the show a few times, but maybe not everyone knows who you are. So maybe Luke and Angry, can you introduce yourself really quickly before we jump while I open the MER?
I'll go first, I guess. So, for those who don't know me, so I'm Luke Hannanen. I am a nullsec player. I'm a director in fraternity, the big evil fraternity. Angry, over to you.
Very good, and a member of CSM 18 current.
February, 18, and before that 17, and going for my third and final run.
That's right. And for everyone, Luke is also going to be on CSM 18, CSM 19. You heard it. You heard it here first. I have no doubt in my mind that Luke is going to be on CSM 19 with the voting power behind him. Angry?
Hey, so I'm Angry Mustache. I'm a member of CSM 17 and 18, but I will not be running for 19. Member of Goonswarm Federation, also a director there. And yeah, so I'm in the lame duck period where I don't have to look for voters, so I can be very rude on Reddit, which I have been, and I plan to make fun of a lot of wormholers today.
I, I saw that earlier in your chat. Um, Someone in chat is saying the levels are up. If you tell me who to increase the volume on, then I can do that. Angry, who's going to be besides presumably Kaz? Who's running for Goons for CSM?
Um, we don't have our ballot finalized yet, but we have two other. I think we have three other candidates: Zinta Janaka, Ankalai, and I actually don't know who the last person is. I know we have a fourth person running, but he's not. Um, he doesn't have a space job, so I don't quite know.
All right, and I have to interrupt for this because Crota just gifted 25 subs in chat. So thank you, Crota. That's incredibly generous, and thanks for supporting the show. And glad you like it, even though we're not talking about markets yet. We're talking about just quote unquote the MER. All right, let's jump into the MER then, and we can start with. Let me actually go here and pull this up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have to hide the alert box window so that we can actually see something. All right, now let's start with production, destruction, mining. So obviously production numbers are down, but they have been sliding pretty much since the beginning of the year after coming from a very high period, and we don't see a lot of change in destruction or mining. So in my point of view, there's not really a lot to write home about here. Angry Luke?
I mean, yeah, I think I agree. It seems to be just a bit of a continuation at the moment.
Yeah.
The big change will be next month when all the move up and stuff starts showing up. Well, I think this month is also lower because for September, goons were deployed and they weren't at home. You can see that later on the MERs that whenever Alliance deploys to fight, their home region production drops,
Mhm.
and you can see that Delve is a lot lower in September than it was in July and before.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. And it's probably going to be low again in October with all the move ups going on. And someone, Nick Paul in chat is asking, is no one mining in Pochven? Pochven is actually, while lucrative, a very, very small part, but you can see it here in, oh yeah, and the mining, I guess it doesn't even blip. Do they not report it? I guess not, huh?
Uh, no, it's too small. Oh no, it's too small.
I think I mean, I looked at the number earlier. It was less than 1%, but it's probably too small to show up here.
I think the more granular data, hasn't the posh mining stuff basically dropped as well, because you've got the nullsec escalations as well for
Yeah.
mining.
I think overall it's just a compared to everything else, it's just smaller. Yeah, I mean, asteroid mining. I think these numbers I would just skip over them unless you guys have something specific to talk about here. It hasn't really changed all that much. Ice volume, angry. You guys should have probably started earlier because ice prices also completely exploded
We
last
did
week.
stock up on topes. We've been buying topes for quite some time.
Okay, very good.
You're always going to get scalp. You're always going to get some people that haven't stocked up and some people that scalp, right?
Yeah,
These kinds
but
of
it's a very
situations,
good time to be an ice miner right now.
it's a good time to be an ice miner and it's a good time to be an investor because people like me, we live off just having these stockpiles sitting around until something happens, right? If you have the capital just to invest and sit around, then this is the dream situation for your investor. We don't care what you do with it, but we'll sell it to you. And probably angry, not even to you because you guys stocked up. It's everyone else that is now paying a premium. It's my speculation. Total destroyed by value.
See that
Right here.
when we're not home, even destruction is down. So for example, you see Vale has more. Usually Delve's above Vale, but this month it's not because simply more people are not in Delve. And the next month you can see Fountain now mine Delve, which I think is the first time it's happened in a very long time.
Yeah. Yeah. Fountain being the initiative and Delve being goons. And same here, NPC bounties by region. Oh, you fell behind Peregrine Falls. I don't know if you're typically number 2, right?
Yeah, we're typically
You're normally number 2. I think Vale and Dell kind of flip backwards and
Yeah,
forwards.
it depends on whether there's a Chinese holiday or there's an American holiday.
All right. The trade balance is not going to show up yet as much because you're going to see that.
That's
that
always
next
been
month.
like a pet peeve of mine is that when because you can track move ops on the MER, so like please don't have our move ops start on like the 25th because then they see it immediately. And this time the announcement was in October, so there's a whole month before when move op shows up on the MER.
It's going to be easier to track how much you move though, because we have the entire month.
That's true, but that number so out of date is useless.
It's quite convoluted by the time you've got a month's worth of data, right? Like it's too broad.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure everyone is very curious though to see that number next month. It's going to be one of the larger number that we've seen in a long time. M3, not interesting. Trades by region, not interesting. I want to jump into here. My favorite graph. This is ISK sinks, ISK faucets. If you look down here, the biggest sink is still the transaction tax with about 19 trillion. However, it is about, I don't know, 15 trillion lower than it was before the sales tax was cut in half. And that means that we have a situation where, and I'm going to move over here really quickly to show you the ISK sinks and faucets again. We have a situation where the ISK sinks have steadily gone down since June. June was the last month that had full sales tax. And we then have less and less sales tax. And so the sinks amount to a total of 91 trillion in September. If we look at the faucets, they are staying high. So while we did have a reduction in blue loot from wormhole space that we're going to see later on the chart, the ISK faucets overall are staying very high. So you have consistently high faucets with shrinking sinks means a vastly increasing money supply, and we're going to see that on a graph in a second here as well. One thing I want to mention is that we have the active ISK delta here, which is the amount of ISK that is added or reduced based on people going active, becoming active again, or going inactive, and bot bans as well. And so what we're seeing here is a fairly significant minus 60 trillion on the active ISK delta. However, it's been about 3 months since we had the expansion come out. And so I expected this number to actually be higher, but as you can see in June, the number of people coming back for this expansion was a lot lower, for example, than the people coming back for the November expansion, which you see on this right here. So last time we had expansion, and then 1, 2, 3, we had minus 75 trillion, and this time we had an expansion in June with less of an extreme bounce back, and then 1, 2, 3 minus 63 trillion. So nothing really huge to write home about. Luke, Angry, anything to add to this?
No, nothing from me on this one. I don't think. I think I hadn't really considered the 3 month from an expansion point, but yeah, you can see it quite clearly.
And
There's a
then
couple interesting things on this one, which is that there we go. Deathless Custodian, 5.8 trillion. That is the payout from the Zarzak event that ran for like a week and a half, and was it was a very lucrative event for like the handful of people that ran it. It was, yeah.
Very
we can see
lucrative and
that
very
here.
concentrated.
Yeah,
in it.
we can see that on here. It shows up. It immediately becomes a significant source of income here, and then drops down, and now it's already out of the game again, right? Very temporary.
Yeah. But from what I heard, I didn't run it myself because we were busy with things. But the event was actually very well designed, and I hope that they repurpose the AI and stuff used for the event for other things, like, I don't know, making those anomalies not just Ishtars. I mean,
Yeah.
it's ironic because that event's also run with Ishtars, but if they can fix that issue and then repurpose it somewhere, that'll be pretty good.
Yeah. So we still, CCP hasn't said anything publicly about whether this transaction tax is going to be temporary or not. If taking CSM glasses off, looking at this from the outside, I don't think it is sustainable to keep the sales tax at 50% cut without making any other significant changes to either other sinks or faucets. So I do think that something needs to happen in that space.
I think most likely things they'll just restore it back to 3.6%.
Yeah, but then it would have been, they didn't explain publicly what the experiment was. I think there was nothing in the patch notes. I haven't seen a Reddit post, so it's not clear to the player base why CCP has cut the sales tax in half and what the experiment was. So I think it's difficult for the player base to gauge what the reasoning behind it is and why they would change it back. So that's what
But I
I
think
think the problem is.
the logical thing there, though, is if they're conducting an experiment, I think you would normally, like, if you follow like normal experiments, you might explain afterwards. Otherwise,
Mhm.
people might react differently if you know what the thing is to experiment.
Very good. Yes. All right. Let's hope so, Luke. But if not, I can explain in 5 years. All right. We have faucets over time. It seems to be that sleeper loot blue loot from wormholes has been fairly stable at about 60% of what the pre-nerf stage in June was. So that means that it's cut, I don't know, somewhere between 5 and 10 trillion of faucets out of the game, which is which I think is healthy. I think it was a good change. I don't know how happy the wormholers are about it, and I know Angry last month we talked about whether it had the effect of seeing less marauders in space and more dreads, but I'm sure. Did you bring some graphs about that as well again?
No, nothing's really changed about wormholes between this month and last month. I think wormholes are stable around 15 trillion versus their previous average of like 22.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's a pretty significant drop, but I think it's mostly stable. The other thing
yeah,
to note is that destruction of wormholes hasn't gone down, so it just means that the printed to destruction ratio for wormholes is now 3-1, where it was before it was around 4-1 to 3.5-1, which puts it about the same range as nullsec.
So translated, that means that you think it's in a good place.
I think it's an acceptable place. And I think we're talking over a commercial right now.
Yeah, it's
I
okay.
think
I
now
put it on
that
YouTube later.
one that one place of excesses has been sort of addressed, they need to address the other one.
Okay. Yeah, which is Parchment. All right. This is sinks and faucets over time. I think here you can see the sales tax change. This was the previous level of over 1 trillion per day in sales tax, and now we are at about 600 billion a day in sales tax. So this was a significant cut that contributed vastly to the increased money supply. And that is the money supply graphs. You can see that it is rapidly increasing. So for the last year or so, it has been increasing quicker than it was before, and the reason that is possible is because we are seeing a very low velocity of ISK. So there's a lot of ISK in the game, but people aren't using a lot of that ISK, and that's why it's not causing a lot of inflation. And I know that there's a lot of discussion over how the velocity of ISK would increase in inflation in the game economy, but I am a supporter of the theory, and I'm convinced that if we did have an economy right now that was that had very high production, that had high trade, that had high destruction, then we would start to see a lot of inflation, because the only reason that this massive amount of ISK that is currently in the game per capita, right? Per capita, the only reason that is not causing hyperinflation, in my point of view, is because it's just sitting around doing nothing, and so CCP is dodging that bullet right now, in my point of view.
Well, if you go back to the velocity one, you'll see that the velocity is up on Plex related items. So it's not necessarily people are doing nothing with it, but people are
Sitting
uh
on Plex.
well, not sitting on Plex. People are using it to buy Plex and use Plex. It's Plex. Like if you have a bunch of ISK and Eve, you use it on Plex to save yourself real money. So
Yeah, and I
like
mean the there's a lot
you
of
might
pressure on
not
the
need
Plex
like
price.
a blingier ship or more ships, but having more ISK to save yourself money by spending it on Plex is always a good thing. So so right now it's a good time for Plex sellers, the wallet warriors who because there's quite a lot of them because a lot of people really do despise PVE and Eve in all its forms. Just uh so they just buy Plex and sell it to fund all their activities.
Yeah, and because of the subscription price increase last year, that just put a lot of pressure on the Plex price because it pushed even more people to sub via Plex rather than dollars or euros. And it if you look at the availability right now in JITA, I was checking it out earlier. Let me see. I think we have way less than half a trade day available Plex in JITA, and the price is chasing record highs. So it's
What is it? What is
yeah.
it at current? Is it 5.7 still? 5.8?
The Plex price right now in JITA, the lowest sell order is 574. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's hardly any on the market. So it's so volatile. It's always just one good New Eden store sale away from just spiking in price again, because they put out these massive New Eden store sales, like they did the 50% off hyper core sale that everyone jumped off, and again they couple it with a 20% discount in the real money store for Plex, but that's not nearly enough to counteract people just buying up Plex and basically doing arbitrage on the market. But yeah, we're almost through with the graphs. Oh, I switched it away. Let me pick back up where we left off. That was here. Yeah, and the mineral price index is the highest it has ever been this month, driven by very high Maxilon prices, very high Morphite prices. Isogen is also still expensive. What else? Even Pyrite was spiking this month. So, Angry, what's your take on the MPI?
So you see the thing actually heading in a different direction because you see the MPI is up, the PPI is up, the primary producer index,
Yep.
because a lot of the PPI is mineral deprived. Yeah, composed of minerals. There we go.
Mhm.
But the SPPI is down because the SPPI is made of Moongu, and
Yep.
combined, the effect is that the prices for things didn't actually change that much overall, but depending on what you buy, you'll feel more of an effect.
Yeah, you can see that here if you look at this graph that tracks module prices and ship prices. So module and ship prices are up just 5 to 15% compared to the baseline in 2018. But that's just because this is a lot of Moongu and tier 2 production rather than the tier 1 or capital ships that are very dependent on basic minerals, right? Or even battleships, tier 1 battleships. So yeah, this is kind of glazing over the fact that minerals are incredibly expensive. While Isogen has come down quite significantly in the last 2-3 weeks, we're seeing just other things spike. Maxilon 2 weeks ago in the patch notes, Maxilon was taken out or reduced by 10% in a lot of blueprints for, what was it, Titans, I think, right?
Yeah, but the thing
Yeah.
is that nobody's building those parts. Like
Yeah.
they're a very small market, so it shouldn't actually have an effect.
Yeah, and it's actually more expensive now than it was before the patch. It's way more expensive now than it was before the patch, and part of that is because people are using Metanox, right? Metanox moon drills rather than moon mining themselves. Doesn't that have an impact on the amount of
Right,
Maxilon
because
entering the market?
Metnox doesn't for R4s, Metnox doesn't produce the pyrite and Mexilon.
Yeah. So yeah, incredible, quite incredible. This has to come down, and you know, um, I think I speak for all of us that we've brought it up on the CSM. Now, what have we got? Lastly, the wormhole. This is what we were referring to earlier. So this is where we had over 20 trillion in the past, and now, you know, we used to have 20 trillion blue loot from C5 and C6 wormholes alone in 1 month, and now that number is down to less than 12. So quite significant drop there. Okay, Angry, you have some graphs. Do you want me to pull them up?
Yes, sure.
Any particular order, or the order that you send them to me?
The order that I sent is okay.
Okay. I just need to bring them over here real quick. Hold on. Give me 1 second, and I'm going to copy all of the graphs in here.
So to answer one of the things Clement TP said, so one of the reasons that Mexilon is up is that that's precisely what's happening. So it used to be that R4. So the thing about R4 moons, right, is that they're composed of multiple things. They have R4 moon goo in them. They also have pyrite and a Mexilon in them. Now recently, because of Metnoxes, the price of R4 moon goo has collapsed. So so it's become less worthwhile to mine R4 uh Mungu manually. And what that did is that cut the supply of Mexilon pyrite going into the economy. And as a result, the response is that Mexilon's gone up because Mexilon has a more R4 reliant supply than pyrite does.
Thank you. All right. Let me see here. Nope. Nope. This? Yeah. Can you see it now, Angry?
Yes, I can see it.
But it's
And
unreadable.
I got a first-hand experience where you were. I remember the first like one of the first CSM meetings we had. You suggested that this was something that needed to be fixed, and I got impacted by it. And
Yeah.
as you can see, because of the way the market UI works, if an item spikes for 1 day, the price graph for that item becomes unreadable for the whole year because it throws off the scale. And
Yeah,
even
you
if
need
you
to
change the date,
resize. It's just a pain.
no,
Yeah.
even if you change the date time frame, it doesn't change the y-axis.
Yeah.
So the ability to see that item's price is just ruined permanently.
Yeah,
And they haven't fixed
I
it for
am
like the year you have been
I am still
asking.
working on fixing that. I remind CCP every week, and I haven't given up hope that at some point we will see it. All right.
So instead, we went to the table and made a graph of the actually readable version.
Yeah. So magmatic gas is has been impacted by a patch this week, right? You need much more magmatic gas now to run Metanox moon drills, right?
Right. So it got impacted by two patches, right? So the first
Yeah.
patch is the Skyhook patch, which removed waste from stealing magmatic gas. Because what happened before was that um when you steal from a Skyhook, half the gas would be destroyed. So the supply was being constrained by that. And now that there is no loss from it, you get a lot more supply, which is where the drop first starts. And then later, this caused the gas price to drop enough that CCP increased the gas usage of
The Metanox.
yeah,
Hmm.
I cut out for a bit. CCP increased the gas usage of Metnox to compensate for that. And
Yeah.
apparently these two changes got a lot of people very angry for I'm not sure why. Um, but there was a lot of rage on Reddit about it. Uh, and I guess this is a good time to talk about like how Metnox has affected Moon Goo in general, because I think a lot of people who are very angry about it don't look at Moongoo prices. So do you want to flip through just
Yeah.
like pretty quickly the Moongoo
We have
thing on the next one?
R64 here.
Right. So R64 was is the least affected by Metnox because it's very scarce, and Metnox does have less throughput than Athenors. So groups that own them generally want to keep their R64s on Athenors and mine them more capable because you really don't have that many R64s to spare. But for
Yeah.
everything else, Metnox has crashed the prices. You can see exactly where they were introduced in starting in the patch was June of 24, but you can see the drop happened very shortly after. So this is a special case. Our hafnium is not because of Metnox, it's because the areas of space that produce hafnium was under the SEA agreement,
Hmm.
and while that was a fun place, it wasn't a good place to mine. So you had a you had a very sharp shortage of hafnium.
Yeah. And now you're moving into that space. Is that right?
We are, but the price already dropped.
Yeah. Um, R16s also crashed, but this is due to Metanox, right?
Yeah, this is due. You can see when it happens, and that's directly due to Metnox.
Yeah. Whether it's real supply or panic selling. The panic selling would be short term though, and this looks by now, 3 or 4 months. That's not panic selling anymore. That is actual oversupply.
Yeah.
R8, same thing.
Keep in mind of the scale. This one is from this
Yeah,
is a 1 year time scale, so so Metnox introduction is at the middle of the graph instead of at the end like the other ones.
here. Yeah. This is Metanox, but it took about a month or so for it to start taking effect. So this slide is Metanox right here. And then R4, this graph looks different, but that's somehow me. Here we go. This is also January. So R4 actually uh, increased after Equinox, but then once the Metanox started running, it dropped down, right?
Yeah. So the increase was you need R4 to build skyhooks. So there was a temporary run on R4s to build Equinox infrastructure.
Yeah. Eden Trade in chat is saying, why does CCP think that keep making everything more expensive is a good fix to the game? Um, Driving price, doing things in games down, having lower Moongoo prices will drop T2 prices and other prices within the
Well,
game.
there's two sides of that coin, right? You want to
Yeah.
find the page about Celestes, the refine. I believe I have a thing about
Yep.
the Celeste, a screenshot of moon ore prices.
Here you go. I've pulled it up.
So the other side of that is when you make Moongoo cheap, you make mining Moongoo not worth it. So
Yeah.
this is the ISK per hour for a theoretical maxed out Hulk. So this is one Hulk max boosts using the Type B crystal, which you don't actually want on the better Moongoo. So this is like a theoretical max, and what you see is that for everything that's not R64, you the ISK per hour is not high. Like if you're mining R8, even with the maxed out Hulk setup, you're making 30 million ISK an hour, and
That's
you are
terrible.
putting a billion ISK ship with a 7 billion ISK booster in outside of high sec to make 30 million an hour, and it's not. Well, the thing here's the thing, Eden trade. It won't balance in the future because for this, Metnox is permanently better than human mining. So so those miners just disappear because a Metnox is just flat out better. A single Metnox is it it'll do the work of 80 man hours of mining for whatever the cost of fueling gas is. Well, there's
I,
not. That's why only R64 is worth it, Eden Trade, because that's the ones that are scarcity limited and not widely available. So the issue is like you mine out your available good moons, and then what do? Do you compete with a Metnox that runs no matter whether you're logged in or not, or do you find something else to do? And that something else to do might not necessarily be in space.
so the real question there, or isn't the real question, how many people actually do want to mine, right? How many people, how many miners does the game need to support? Because under the current, if nobody wanted to mine in the game, then the current change would be a reasonable change. But assuming and knowing that a lot of people play EVE Online to mine and enjoy the process of mining, you need to make it profitable enough for them to not completely do something economically completely unsensible, right? That's the problem.
Right. So why would player mining? Well, some people do like to mine. Like
Yeah.
also like I think Luke can attest to like people in the lines like 15 Hulks and an Orca and a Rorqual, and they
Yeah.
just come home and get on comms and start mining.
Mining also has a really large social element to it, right? Like groups and corps and stuff will go out mining as a group, and it's just a really chilled out way of doing things. So people do like to mine.
Yeah. And so considering that, um, it's it's just a terrible ISK power right now. And even if the only way to make it worth it is to heavily multi-box, and even then you're putting, economically speaking, way too much risk on the table, right?
The other thing is without like people, there's also people that kill miners. If they're not in
Yeah.
space, what are those people killing?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fundamental problem of the game. Let me pull up your last graph here. Let's see. I haven't looked at this. What is this?
That's a bomb breakdown of a flycatcher. So you can this shows you what a flycatcher is made of and the price slide sends. So remember the CPI thing, right? It's like ship prices are going down. Well, this is why ship prices are going down. Is you can see some of the bars that make up a interdictor. So the big orange one, the big yellow one is R64. That hasn't really changed much, but the purple one that has shrunk is R16, and you can see where it started shrinking. Is that it does correspond with the slide in prices from Metnoxes.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just more reason why nobody's going to go out and mine low quality moons anymore, right? I mean, there's just,
I mean, R16 didn't used to be low quality because the
yeah.
name
Yeah.
suggests that you find out 1 out of 16 moons, and it was worth mining.
Yeah. 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 So what are you, what are the reactions that you're seeing in your alliances? So is it just straight up less mining, more ratting for crabs, or what's the reaction?
That I haven't really checked. I mean, I have gut feelings, but I like to see. I like to compile some data before I make a thing.
Yeah.
I think we've tentatively seen more crabbing, less mining. Because people just put their metanoxes on the low end stuff and are just crabbing more. But that's tentative. I think like Angry, I'd have to run like a bit more accurate data on that.
Yeah. All right. Did I think that was all the graphs, Angry, correct?
Yeah, that's all the ones I made.
Yeah. Oh, Brisk
thanks,
Rebal
Brisk.
says everything is Angry's fault. Yeah, of course. Why isn't Brisk running for CSM? I need to ask him, but he's since I see his name in chat. I was wondering that when I was listening to the Meta Show last week. Too much shit to do, too much stuff to move. That's why Brisk is just tied up with move ops. Yeah. All right. Anything else? Luke, I mean, at least since you're nice enough to come on the show, I'll give you at least a chance to do a CSM pitch. You wanna get some votes?
Let's we discussed before the show. Let's do a separate CSM thing later, right?
That's all right.
I've been shilling enough in the last 48 hours. I don't need to hijack your stream to do it.
Okay. Then if he doesn't want to, I will say it since it's my show. I have enjoyed very much working with Luke this past year, as I have with Angry and the rest of the CSM. I think it's overall has been a very, very good year, and I'm sad for it to end at least in that constellation, but can't wait to see what's coming. Angry, any last thoughts?
I wish all the 19s best of luck dealing with TCP because my watch has ended and I'm actually quite happy about it.
Oh,
you've earned your freedom.
You have Angry. You wanted to before I forget, you wanted to bash on wormholders. What happened?
Oh yeah, all these wormholers crying about metnoxes when like wormholes have never had better than R4s, and the whole thing about metnox, the balance of metnox is that they're extremely vulnerable all the time, but when you don't have regular access for your opponents to bash them because they have a timer to follow up, then that sort of removes the entire fragility aspect of metnoxes. They're not balanced wormholes. They're not designed for wormholes. So it's perfectly fine if they're not profitable in wormholes. That's it.
That's it. Okay. I feel like maybe we have to invite a wormhole economist to these roundtables, and a low sec person. Maybe this should be the economic roundtable. I'll get on that for next month. All right. Cool. Well, thanks, Luke. Thanks, Angry. And we're gonna go into more market trading now. So good luck, Luke, on your CSM run. And Angry, see you next month, hopefully.
Likewise. See you soon, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.